Good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world watching this. My name is Angelica Benavides, or Helen, and I am presenting to you thought leaders that are revolutionizing the future of women's health. This is an exceptional opportunity. It's taken a very long time to pull together the wisdom, the wonder, and the magic of these incredible women and to present them to you in this very special format, which really is a interview with them and then a master class and then a follow-up book project that really shares their wisdom with you and the world. So tonight we have one of our exceptional thought leaders who's in fact a domestic violence survivor. She is a breast cancer survivor and a really exceptional speaker, publisher, and mentor. She's also an award-winning legacy builder, someone who really has written many of her own books, pulled many people into their book projects, and really tonight is talking about something I think that is truly unique for our time. And it's the idea that really writing your own story of healing, transformation, and rejuvenation can be an opportunity to not only share your story and your inspiration with the world, but to also heal yourself and heal yourself in a very particular and special way. Now, Angelica is actually a leader, mentor, and change catalyst and a human learning expert. She has her doctorate in leadership and really specializes in special needs and has done for many years. And she's an authority on the psychology of leadership, peak performance, and personal development. Really has a lot of expertise on organizational and learning type arenas and has really served as an advisor to many leaders through her life. And her focus is on changing poverty consciousness and helping people who are struggling, even struggling learners, people that are in the educational system, and then also business owners, conquer the chaos that is around when we are trying to navigate ourselves into new authentic action. She's actually presented many very inspirational summits. Some have a very strong spiritual nature, and she really does believe that it's an important time in the world now for us to begin to build our legacies, for people to think about what they want to leave behind in the world, how to actually master our influence and really become the best version of ourselves. And so she's begun to specialize in helping people write and publish their books. Now, she's a recognized speaker, coach, and consultant, a transformational expert committed to taking people to that next level. And tonight is the time where you get the chance to see how she can actually do that for you when you've been through something really traumatic or something really painful. And if you are looking at your history as a catalyzing experience and you begin to write that into a very structured book project, you can actually have something that you leave behind that makes that journey very, very meaningful and also makes it useful to everybody else who can then learn from all of this wisdom that you cultivated along the way. Angelica can be contacted on LinkedIn. You'll see all those links on our YouTube channel on our High Intelligence. You'll see many of our speakers are presented there as well with their Monday night masterclasses. It's been really exciting. We, in fact, had Clarissa talk to us about menopause just over a week ago. And we also had some amazing people from around the world share many different aspects of integrative health and healing with us. And I'm going to share with you just a few of those and what's coming up next so that we can get warmed up for tonight. And then we will, without delay, we'll be joined by Angelica. So if you have a look here, you'll see this is our project running, Women of Truth Masterclasses. We have this going every Monday night with either an assembly meeting, as you see the assemblies here are at the beginning of each night. And we've had many amazing people present to us their masterclasses. Dr. Shruti Nadar Pradar on vibrational healing. Then we had Dr. Sarah Langley on transformation and living limitlessness in our lives. That was me, myself, Helenique Argeru, presenting on neurogenesis and how to really activate your own dream self, your essence self, your future self into your life now, and to become your own shaman. How do you really give yourself your own guidance and learn how to expand? Then we had mindset coaching with Deborah Cherry, and then we worked on addiction, one of the rising challenges for women's health, with Viola Edward. And then we had Phoenix Nagig, who will be joining us later on. And we also had Dr. Sarah Larson really giving us this powerful activation on the pineal gland and how that can help us to stop suffering in life. And then we've just been joined by Clarissa, who talked about menopause and the whole idea of aging gracefully. That is our human right, and that's something we are restoring for all women to come. The permission and the privilege and the honor of becoming into your wisdom and coming into your crowndom, we call it in archetypal psychology, this wise woman, not to be ashamed of wrinkles, not to be trying to hide who you truly are, but really being in the glamour and glory of your wisdom. And now tonight we have Angelica Benavides. Dr. Angelica is now presenting to us as an author, publisher, and a survivor of domestic violence and breast cancer, how you take your story and make this story really, really mean something. Now, if you have the chance to join us on one of these masterclasses, or if you make the time to jump onto the website and find out more about how this all works, you'll see that we have some new speakers coming up as well very soon. And each of these speakers will be presented on our Eventbrite page. And all you need to do is hop on over to any of our online pages, and you will see an amazing array there of incredible speakers presented with their bios, each one where you can actually find out more about them on their actual name. You can pick that up and go and find them on LinkedIn and reach out to them, or watch the videos, because you will see they have actually been telling us some incredible masterclass content that is then also offered to you in a special package, or an opportunity to maybe even join up with them. And then we also have these really specialized opportunities where you can come onto a panel and tell us about your views. What are you thinking about women's health? How can you help the situation? What is your area of expertise? What do you think about these masterclasses? How are they going to help you support your daughter in the future? How can they help you develop your integrative health into the years to come? This is on the assembly, what we call the Women of Truth Assembly. On the first Monday of each month, we have live discussions, and we are joined by some incredible women from around the world that are then talking about our masterclasses. For those of you that want a little bit more help up the ladder, we are in your corner, and we give you that little push. And it's not just the corporate ladder, but the whole ladder to building your legacy and to being visible and to having publicity and PR opportunities that are priceless. We actually call that being famous for the right reason. So tonight's masterclass is one of these opportunities. If you write your story and get it published, you have an excellent opportunity to put your name out there into the world. So this is visibility and publicity boosting for speakers and leaders, and it's a very specialized masterclass that we actually held as a seminar on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month. You can find all that information on LinkedIn as well, and that's where you'll also be looking at your own speaker leader visibility publicity schedule and design 5 to 6 publicity moments through our networks, our partners. You get the chance to actually figure out ways to develop your own very specialized publicity PR campaign. And you can also then learn about ways that we can help you to do that by either becoming one of our speakers or by being referred to places by us into some of our networks and partners. And then it goes all the way into even speaking a bit more about our membership, which is an inner circle that trains women on how to really galvanize their leadership. This is a very important thing, because if you are looking at ways of putting your message out into the world, becoming a leader for the future, which the world desperately needs, then you really have a challenge ahead of you to make sure that you are open to being seen, being heard, and being appreciated by many people around the world. Because if you want to reach an audience, you have to be able to serve that audience at the highest level. And that means no more excuses, no more holding back, no more shame, no more caution. It's really throwing caution to the wind and becoming visible and being in the public eye and being able to take PR opportunities and make the best out of them. So this is what it looks like, the Visibility Publicity PR Booster Seminar that happens on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday every month. And then we also have on Saturdays, once a month, a speaker training. And that's something that you can find out in our group, Women of Truth. And this is really a group that gives you the chance to learn about everything that we're doing. It gives you the chance to learn about our new speakers and their special topics. We'll be announcing those very soon. It's very exciting. What are they going to be teaching us? Projects that we're running, like how to get involved in our projects around the world where we are supporting and being supported by some of our leaders, some of the ceremonial work we do on the island of Cyprus, how to become your own muse. It goes on, right? So you have lots of opportunities to also get to know some of our speakers and to join our speaker training demo session once a month. We have online experts for you here. We have special podcasts that you can get onto. We have our speakers and their accolades. We have our members and their needs. We have reminders of everything we're doing. And then we also have some very special, not to be missed opportunities that are like free challenges or special activation circles that really help you galvanize your leadership for the future. So without further ado, I would like to present to you the masterclass then tonight for our very special thought leader, Dr. Angelica Benavides. And as we just said, she is an acclaimed leader in her own right, somebody who's going to teach us tonight about the really powerful way that you can deliver your message to the world. And you have me introducing her and some really interesting step-by-step slideshow to actually learn how you can do this when you are writing your own book. Okay, so over to this very special recorded session with Dr. Angelica Benavides.
Good day, everyone. My name is Angelica Benavides, and I am presenting a very special thought leader on the future of women's health to you today called Dr. Angelica Benavides. This is part of a summit virtual conference, a partnership with some incredible experts from around the world who are presenting on new and interesting ways to think about health, wellness, and well-being. Today we have Dr. Angelica Benavides, who is an international author, publisher, speaker, mentor from Texas, United States, but really has been known now as the legacy builder, someone that really helps people to build a legacy, to leave behind important message for the world. And she's going to tell us today about how she helps people to do that and why it's so important for health. Because I'm sure you all recognize that we're living in challenging times and there's a lot of uncertainty about wellness and the future of well-being. And of course, our thought leaders like Dr. Angelica today are really informed and themselves people that have been through a valley of darkness. They've conquered some difficult stuff in their own lives and they've stepped into their own truth. And from that wisdom, they share with us some very important pearls of wisdom. So I'll let you know that Dr. Angelica also runs some incredible summits where she brings together some survivors of domestic violence and breast cancer. And these are people that help teach, guide, and facilitate others to actually heal in their journey as well. Welcome so warmly to our circle, Dr. Angelica. Thank you so much for making time to teach this masterclass. We're looking greatly forward to it and really waiting to hear how you can help people build their legacies. Over to you.
Thank you for having me here. I think this is a big conversation and teachable moment, because we all go through experiences in life that we call stories. We tell our stories over and over and over again to families and friends, and we tell them sometimes how awful experiences we've had, either because of an illness such as cancer or because domestic violence hit our lives, right? And it just brought us down tremendously. And I have, a suggestion, that when you overcome these big challenges in life, that you take those stories and you turn them into a legacy. So that's exactly what I'm going to be talking to you. And when you do that, you begin to activate and you turn your dreams into reality, because you can become that known speaker. You could be an author. You could be a recognized coach. You could be a top leader, because you're guiding people through your story and your message, and you're impacting and influence people in bigger ways. And I'm going to tell you why. So give me a second so I can present this presentation. It's actually called The Ultimate Legacy Builder. How can you leave your story and be remembered forever? Because that is the question, right? So I don't know of how many of you agree that your story is too big to play small. Many times we don't tell our story the way that we should be telling our story. We tell our story as the victim. I had cancer and I wasn't able to work for 5 years, and I had no energy and I couldn't do anything and I lost. But how about, instead of playing small, you take that story, that same story, but you play big. Now you turn it around and you begin to tell your story and looking at the golden lessons of life that you captured. And then what were those stepping stones to rise to the next level of your life? Because I'm going to tell you something, whether you believe it or not, you have been shaped by this beautiful experience that happened to you. I know it was hard because I had cancer and I struggled through it about 5-6 years. Plus, I was in domestic violence, and I'm going to tell you more about that story in a minute. But what I'm going to advise you is don't hoard your story. Like, don't keep it to yourself, right? So that you can activate those big dreams that you have and you can begin to turn your life around. And now you will share the message to the world. So there's no passion to be found in playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. And that's by Nelson Mandela. I thought that was a beautiful quote and I needed to share it here with you. Now, the other question is, if you are an entrepreneur, or maybe not, how many of you are ready to make money from your story? Like, how can you take that story and begin to make money, right? And not only make money, but influence and impact people. Because this is the thing, that as entrepreneurs, we're playing small, and sometimes we are afraid of making money, because there's some belief in our head, in our hearts, that we need to serve. And yes, you need to serve, but you also need to survive, right? And how do you survive? Instead of surviving, you're going to be thriving by telling your story, making money, knowing how to position yourself so that you can step into the world and really serve people in a bigger way, in a greater way. But at the same time, you're making money by telling your story. Okay? So are you ready to break the curse? Like, you have to be ready to break this curse of believing that money is not good enough, that you can't tell your story because it's a secret, because you feel that no one should know. But if you remain in that circle of life of just being in a shell and blocking yourself, then there's no way that you're going to activate those dreams that you desire. You can't reach that reality that you want to achieve because you are playing small and you are in a shell and you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be heard. And I'm going to tell you something. If you begin to tell your story with intentionality in wanting to make a difference and truly serving people, because you see, whether you believe this or not, there's people out there suffering right now that have experienced what you experienced, and they're waiting for your message to step into the light. You see, we were in the darkness at one point. We were, but how do you take them from darkness to light? And the way you do that is through your storytelling and building that legacy and leaving that message so that others understand that they are not alone. Now, sometimes we think, oh, I'm good enough. I'm good where I'm at. But I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? We think we know everything and we're in a perfect place now. But I'm telling you, when you begin to tell your story and you build that legacy and you step into the unknown, if you want to take a shortcut, you will have to be willing to listen to what I have to tell you today. Like, stick to this whole session, because I'm telling you that before you leave this world, you could leave a legacy, and people need a shoulder to stand on, right? They need giants to stand on. And I think that you are a big giant and you don't know it. You don't know it, and you don't know that because you haven't experienced the struggle in life, but you are a big giant, and people need that shoulder to stand on so you could guide them to the next step, so you can shape their lives and turn them around. And that's how you could break the curse, is by seeing yourself as a big giant. Okay? So now, who am I? If you're going to give me permission, I'm just going to take a few minutes to tell you. I know that Helenique shared a little bit about myself, but I've been featured in several places like Daytime, NBC, CBS, and not only that, I have a lot of resilience. Like, I can fall and bounce back up. Like, I've done it so many times in life because I've had so many struggles, divorce, bankruptcy, illness, and all at the same time. So I was able to fall really, really hard, but I bounced right back up, right? And I have a very loving and caring heart. And yes, I'm here to serve, but I'm also America's #1 publisher. I consider myself as the queen of connections. I feel I'm a top-notch event producer. I feel that I'm a leader and a badass influencer. And I promote speakers and authors just like you. And I help people experience breakthroughs so that they can achieve that next level. So you have those beautiful nuggets as well. And yes, I went through cancer, and this is me. Like, I would never, people, when I was going through cancer, they would never see me bald, like never. And now I've stepped into the courage of telling people, like, look, I did experience cancer, and I get emotional. So just be patient with me, because losing my hair was losing my power. And because that was my story, that I lost my hair and I lost my breast, but I have life. So now I did speak on the Women's Conference of Inner Beauty. I created my own platform because now it's all about turning my story and turning it into legacy. I've been writing books and I'm publishing books, and I am really sharing my story, even if it's hard, even if I get emotional, even if it's still, hard for me to communicate it because I get very emotional. But I have been connecting. Like, we wrote From Zero to Success. I'm ready to translate it into English, and it was 18 authors, 8 around the country. The next book that I participated was The One Habit, and it's all about telling your story. Tell your story. And how are you going to do it, right? Now, I've been invited here with Helenique. I've been invited in the Global Elevation. I was a Shiro twice. And they celebrated me back in 2004 and then in 2006. I've been participating in different events around the world. I could put everything here, but now I've been speaking on other people's stages, right? Also, I've been making connections with beautiful hearts, beautiful people. Like, this is Miss America. I connected with her back in 2011. I connected with Mike Rowe, right? Dirty Jobs. I don't know if you heard of him. Bill Wash, Joni Patry. She's an astrologist, amazing astrologist. And anyways, I can go on and on and on, right? With Mark Victor Hanser is one of my mentors right now in publishing and in writing. So you see, stepping into your greatness and not being afraid. I was afraid that I didn't know how to write. I struggled in writing for a long time. But where you're struggling, that is what's going to make you great. Like when you jump over that obstacle, right? Because I used to hate writing. Oh my God, if I tell you my stories, you have to read my story because I talk about it there in the book. Now I'm a publisher, even if it's something I fear, and I still fear it because I'm afraid, I don't know how to spell, I probably don't know how to communicate it. And yes, the fears are still there, but I'm still doing what I want to do. Tell my story, help people tell their story. Here, I've held different events. I've hosted and had like Joe Vitale and Bill Wash and Forbes Riley and Michael Butler. And I've had people on my platforms, like even Helenique was on my platform, and now I'm here on hers. So it's all about telling your story, writing books, getting on other people's platforms, and turning and activating your dreams and turning them into reality. Like, who do you want to become? What do you want to do in life? What's that next level of your life that you want to step into, right? So the question is, what's your story? We have a lot of stories. Like, I have a lot. I have my story of when I was in college and I hated to write. And I have that story written up. Another story that I had is that I'm the youngest of 11, right? And we lived in poverty, and my mom used to buy fruit, and we could only eat one fruit at a time. But then every story I connected to how it shaped me and what it's made me, or what I've become because of that episode of my life, right? So I'm sure you have a story too. So how do you want to be remembered? That is the question. How do you want to be remembered? And the way I decided to be remembered as the ultimate legacy builder was because not too long ago, my friend's brother passed away. And they said something about him, and it was like, whoa, I don't want to be remembered that way. And I was like, how do I want to be remembered? And it really triggered me. And it was like, oh my God, if I had died back in 2014, nobody would know me, but the way that they created the story, right? Sometimes people are telling a story, and if you look at that story that they're saying, you're like, that's not me. That's not how I want to be remembered. And I was like, what if I tell the stories the way that I want people to see it, and how I want people to remember, and the way that I want to impact people. So that's a big difference than somebody just telling your story and then you probably don't even agree with it, right? So I think that's important. And not only that, as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a small business owner, it doesn't matter what you're doing right now. Even if you're an educator, like the recipes to riches, like, are you playing small? Are you not making enough money? Are your goal your financial goals the same for the past 5 years? Or are you elevating your financial goals to that next level so that you can activate your dreams and turn them into reality, right? Because it's, you see, every year you have to look at your financial goals and say, okay, this is what I did last year. And then where do you want to be financially at the end of this year? And if you're not doing that, then you don't have the roadmap to get there, right? You don't have a roadmap. And the way that I'm teaching you is stepping up, telling your story, integrating it into your business, getting on other people's stages like mine and Hellenique's, and telling your story there. And at the same time, using, like I said, bringing in riches is a matter of smart strategy. And the smart strategy is getting on other people's platforms, writing a book, and creating products, launching your own products. So how are you doing that? Okay. Leveraging your story. And in leadership, you have to become a leader where you lead others to the light with strategies, with a formula on how, okay, this is what happened to me, and this is how you can get to the other side. Okay, so you built a roadmap for them. It is a massive mistake not to take a look at the money you're leaving on the table right now. You are leaving money on the table because you don't have a formula, you don't have a strategy. So I'm here to give you recipes to riches. You need someone else to help you see the blind spots that you have. You see, I could be driving a car, because I'm sure all of you might be driving a car and you know how to drive a car, but there's a blind spot. Even if I know how to drive that car, there's a blind spot and I cannot see that car in that blind spot. The same thing with you. You cannot see some of your mistakes that you're making because they're in your blind spot. You can't see them alone. You need someone like Hellenique. You need someone like me. You need somebody like a mentor to help you see those blind spots, to take you to that next level. Your blind spots is not writing a book this year. Like, if you're not writing a book, that's one of your blind spots. If you're not getting on other people's stages, that is a blind spot. If you are not building products and going virtual, that is a huge blind spot. So you need someone like Hellenique and myself to help you get over and being able to see that blind spot clearly and making a difference. So everyone struggles. You're not the only one. Like, the struggle is real, but that's not the focus. You know, when you're going to crash, I don't know if you've ever crashed. I mean, I have, but when you're ready to crash, it's like, you're not looking at that car that you're going to hit. You're not looking at the impact. You are looking for the exit, right? You're like maneuvering and moving the wheel. So you are looking at an open space where you could move. So you need to stop looking at the struggle, stop being a victim, and now look at that open space, look at the opportunities that it's opened up for you, and say, I could be a speaker, I can be an author, I can be anything you want. I mean, this is your time to really magnify yourself, right? So people can see you. So share your life golden lessons. Like, let's figure out, what are those lessons that you've learned during that struggle, and how can we turn them into resources, opportunities for others? And I think that's powerful. So why is storytelling so powerful? How do we use it to our advantage? You know, those are questions that you need to begin to ask yourself. What is my story, or what are my stories, right? And then why are they so powerful, and how can I use it to that advantage so I can help myself and I can help other people? So here it is. Everyone has hormones. Like, we have we're chemical beings, right? There's chemistry. We're a chemical soup. that happens. And that's how we attract things in life, through our chemicals. We're either having happy hormones or we have these miserable hormones created in our body. And basically, that's how we attract people into our lives. That's how we attract incidents in our lives, because of these beliefs and these chemicals that are being built in our body. Now, what you do when you're telling a story is you're creating dopamine in a person's brain, in their body. And this dopamine is the reward chemical. You know, this reward chemical creates the effects of focus. When you're saying something, like I'm sure that when I started tearing up earlier, right, you became more attentive. You began to pay attention to, why is she getting so emotional, right? It creates motivation in people's lives. So when people begin to hear your story, they're going to be motivated and saying, wait a minute, if Hellenique did it, if Angelica did it, so can I. That's when they can stand on giants' shoulders, right? And say, if they were able to overcome that big obstacle, so can I. And not only that, but you will be remembered in a bigger way. You see, now you're not just going to say, oh, that speaker that was in Hellenique, so I don't know, that lady with glasses and long hair or red earrings. No, now you're going to know and remember my name. You know, Dr. Angelica, the person who had cancer, but now she's the ultimate legacy builder. Yes, that one. Right? Because I impacted you, and you're like, if she could do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to get into her shoes and I'm going to step on her shoulders and she's going to help me get over that river of tears. Yeah, that's what we do. That's what I do. I help people. You know, we have sometimes these raw wounds inside, but we help you go over the rivers of tears, right? And get into the next side, which is greener, and there's a promise that something's better out there for you. Now, the other hormone is the oxytocin. This is the love hormone. And we need to create this chemical in people's bodies by being, you know, when they hear your story, they begin to trust you, and they begin to kind of fall in love with you. They're like, I like her. I don't know why, but I like her. And you know why? Because you become a mirror. You become this mirror where people see themselves in you. And they begin to fall in love with you because they're beginning to fall in love with themselves. And there's this bond, and there's this human connection that they've been kind of wanting to have with someone, but they haven't found anybody. And now it's you that they're connecting with. And you create empathy. And they begin to feel understood when all this time somebody else has told them, you know what, you're awful, you're not good enough, it was your fault. You know, I had a husband that would tell me that. You know, all the time I did something, sometimes when we had arguments or whatever, he would tell me how awful I was, right? And it was my fault. But then when you connect with someone else, like a speaker, when people begin to connect with you as a storyteller, they begin to feel understood. They're like, oh my God, I'm not the only one that went through that struggle, okay? The other thing is endorphins. The endorphins are painkillers. Like, most of the people are living in a victim stage, okay? They're either a victim and then they become a prosecutor and then they go rescue, right? They want to be rescued. So they're going through this triangle of victim, prosecutor, telling somebody else that whatever their pain was is because of them. And then they rescue the person that they feel that affected their lives. So when you begin to tell your story, I recommend that you bring humor and you make people laugh, right? Laughter is joy. And and it will stop that pain that that person is experiencing. So how can you bring laughter into your stories? How can you bring that? You have to begin to insert those stories that are funny, right? And that people will begin to laugh. So, I mean, I can tell you, like, in my life, I have 3 dogs, and one of my dogs, his name is Otis, and he is very stubborn, but he knows he can't get on my bed. And all the time I come back, like, I can walk out of my bedroom in the night or whatever, and then he's under the bed. And I don't know how many times, like, I know it happens, but he always scares me because I feel like this. I mean, I sleep alone, right? And then I feel like this body next to me, and I'm always like freaking out. I'm like, what the hell is that, right? But it's my dog that gets under the blankets all the time, and it's like, oh, it's like, get out of my bed. But he always does that. So find stories that are a little humor and that bring smiles to people's lives, because they will create endorphins, which will kill the pain that they're feeling. And they tend to kind of instead of focused on the impact, they're going to focus on other opportunities, right? So the other chemical that you want to create when you're doing storytelling is creating serotonin in people's body, right? Because this is the mood stabilizer. It stabilizes their mood. If they're like kind of like struggling through the day, and they're like, I don't know how to overcome this, I don't want to go to work, then what this chemical does, it gives them the willpower and that boost to say, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to get up even if I'm tired. I'm going to go and become an author, get on other people's stages, even if I'm embarrassed, even if I don't like video. I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to tell my story like I did, right? I showed you my image of being bald, which I never shared that, but I'm starting to share it. Why? Because it's creating serotonin where you're like, when they have that serotonin reaction, it's like, like, oh my goodness. But then it gives them the willpower and the boost to say, I'm going to go out there and make a difference. Okay. I'm going to step into my greatness. So this is the problem. There's a problem with everything, right? Problems will always exist. It doesn't matter if you're having an amazing day, problems will exist. And everybody is feeling this right now during uncertain times, right? During COVID. So what are we going to do? Well, this is what happens. Because of problems always existing, and we're living this fast-paced life, and then we're being forced to stay home and not travel and not connect with other people. There's a lot of adrenaline in our body right now. Right? A lot of adrenaline and cortisone in our body, and there's a lot of irritable sensation. We're become very uncreative, intolerant. We don't remember things. Like, I don't know about you, but there's times that I'm like, oh my God, what was I going to do? Like, I'm just walking to the kitchen and I forget where I was going to the kitchen. Because of the adrenaline and the cortisone in our body is being built, and it affects our memory. And not only it impacts our memory, but we begin to make bad decisions. Instead of writing a book, instead of showing up and telling your story, instead of getting on other people's platforms and showing up for things like this, events like this, we make excuses. I don't have money. I'm not good enough. I don't know how to story tell. I don't know how to write. My husband's not going to let me spend money for this event that Hellenique is having. It's like, no, this is not for me. I'm just going to wait for next year. And the next year comes and nothing, right? Or you stay in these bad relationships. I don't want to stay alone. I'd rather have this person on my side than be alone. So bad decisions because of the adrenaline and the cortisone. So why are you not writing and telling your story? you know. One of the big reasons is writer's block, you know. And writer's block is not just about writing. It's not just about writing. You think that writer's block is about writing a book, right? You're like, I don't want to be an author, but you probably want to write and create courses, online courses, or you want to create a live event, or you probably want to create a presentation. That's writing. That's writing. But writer's block impacts everyone, right? Because that's the creativity mode that we want to be in, but it's a temporary inability to begin to continue writing on projects because of fear, because of anxiety, because of the lack of inspiration, because of that adrenaline rush that's in our body. So people lose the ability to produce new work. And then you feel that in this time of COVID, you're like, oh my God, like, there's no way. Nobody has money. There's no way, right? And it slows you down. But I'm going to tell you something, that this is the time to write, because you're forced to be home. You're forced to be a hermit. And when you become a hermit and you meditate and you dive inside you, you begin to become more inspired. You find ideas. I don't know about you, but I get my ideas in the shower, right? A lot of the good ideas are in the shower or when I'm meditating. But if you continue in this run mode, then there's no way in the world that you're going to gain inspiration. So here's one thing. The importance of writing a story, leaving and turning it into a legacy is because the power is in your name, in your last name. You see McDonald's, Wells Fargo, Crafts. The blessing is in your last name. People will begin to remember you when you write a story. Porsche, Gucci, Baskin Robbins, Walgreens, all these are last names. What if people can remember us, right? Like your last name is catchy and it's out there. Why? Not because it's short and because they put it in gold, but because you're telling a story and people are going to remember. The legacy is power in your name. Legacies are not going to be built overnight. It's an experience that people will have later, because guess what? Even when I leave this world, this book will exist forever. Okay? And my stories will exist forever. My quotes will exist forever. So, but why? People keep saying, but why? You know, I don't want to tell my story. You see, legacy is something that you pass down. It is your print. It is your mark that you make on this world. It is your footprints that people will step on and follow on this world. Even when you're gone, people will quote you and say, you know what Helenique said. And when she said this, she said it because of this, right? It is your contribution to the world. You are leaving a legacy whether you want to or not. Remember, I told you, people will tell your story. You have to be careful. And you want them to tell the stories you want them to tell you. And a lot of times when you're telling a story, people interpret it in a different way. But how about if you tell them a story and you tell them how you want to be remembered, right? So it's important that you begin to tell the stories. So you are every decision you make on this world. If you're not making decisions, you're making a decision by not making one. So whatever you experience right now in this moment is based on the decisions you made last year, the year before, or the previous year. You see, I decided to become a publisher. I decided to be a writer, whether I know how to spell correctly or not, whether I fear that people or criticize me or not. I decided to be a publisher, an author, create my own virtual stages, and be on other people's platforms like Helenique. I decided that because I want to tell and leave a message, right? So you're probably going to be seeing me more, like seeing my name out there more. And I'm hoping that I see your name more and that you invite me to your stage, right? Because it's all about creating yourself. So I'm just going to give you a small offer here. It's Write Your Profitable Hero's Journey so that you can grow your business exponentially with a stellar story. It's not just writing a story, but I have a formula on how to create your story, right? How do you write an anthology? And the most important thing is that sometimes we have these open wounds when we're telling a story, because I've been writing with authors, and when they tell their story, they're crying still, and there's a lot of hurt and pain. So what I do is I create a weekend retreat where it's a virtual one right now, but we will have some lives. And you cleanse your DNA patterning, and I call it the Million Vista Writers Retreat, right? Because you have $1 million story, and people need to see it. Vista means they need to see it. And in this weekend retreat, you dive deep into intense healing, and you discover the lessons. But we polish those stories. They're like diamonds, and we polish them so you could really, people can see the light, they can see you shine, and then they want to be able to follow that. You see, what happens in the world is that we see a lot of people that are very successful, and we're like, oh, they're so successful, but we don't know what they went through. So I'm here to tell you, tell your story, and tell them where you were, how you got to where you are, so they don't believe that people just get to success overnight. But there's a path to success. And through storytelling, you will tell them, but you will also dive deep into healing, because the deeper you go inside to heal, the more capable you are in supporting other people when they are going through struggles and crying. You see, you can't be triggered when you're working with your client and they're crying. You can't cry with them and go and create an adrenaline and cortisone and then be a bad decision maker. Like, no, you need to be in dopamine and have oxytocin in your body and be standing strong. So when they stand on your shoulders, you're able to carry them through and not be triggered and start crying with them, right? So we want to be able to increase your brand awareness through your name and your brand. We want to help you launch your online course. And of course, the 3 things that are coming up really soon is we're going to have a World Women Awards celebration in March. So if you are a woman, we would love for you to either be nominated or for you to nominate women, because the award is going to be called Women of Influence. And not only are you going to be nominated, but you might be a winner of the World Women's Conference and Awards ceremony. And you will be able to be in a book, in one of the books with me, because I'll be the publisher, and be promoted across and around the world with all these women of influence. The other one is if you are a healer, then you want to be one of the co-authors in Discover Your Inner Healer. The other book is Mindset Secrets, because there's a lot of leaders right now in this world that have a legacy that they need to leave behind, but they had a mindset. They have a secret on how they were able to remain strong during these times of crisis. So I want to know your secrets, to come and share them. Or you simply might have a book that you want to write and you don't want to collaborate and write. But I encourage you to write books with other people. Like I'm an author in this book, and his name is Stephen Sambliss. And I'm an author in the book. Why? Because there's hundreds of other people. Imagine all these individuals are promoting the book. When people read it, they will find me, right? So when you come and write with me in one of these books, people will find you, because the word is going to be spread about this book. Anyways, be our next speaker. You will be advertised in our magazine. It's going to be coming for the first time. It's going to be in June and December. You will participate in one of my live events. We will promote your business. You will launch your online product. How? Because when you write the chapter, I teach you how to write a product. So I want you to experience a breakthrough. And many times we don't, because we're stuck. And one of the ways that I have found ways to create momentum is by being in other people's masterminds. I'm with Dean Gracio and Anthony Robbins. I'm with Forbes Riley. She is the pitch, the queen of pitch, and she sold more than $2.5 billion. So I am connecting with big people. Why? Because I get on their shoulders and they show me the way, right? So we invite you to come and join some of these masterminds, to have a deep networking and attend our Cure Writer's Block Retreat, which is the Million Vista retreat that we're having. And here's the $1 million truth. I'm going to be honest. If you're thinking, if it was this easy, everyone would be an author, right? And you would think everybody would be an author. And here's the $1 million truth for you. It isn't easy to write, but it is simple when you have the path laid out in front of you, right? Because I have a formula on how to write and how to get your story out there. And I have the support to make it happen. So if this is for you, and then you can text author 101 to 26786. You can text author 101 to 26786 and schedule a time to talk, because you might want to collaborate in writing a book with me, or you might have a book in mind that you want to write and tell your story. So I really want to take the time and thank Hellenique again. I mean, Hellenique is an amazing lady, and I think that you should get on her platform. She's also writing books, and you need to be able to write a book with her, collaborate and be a co-author in one of her books, because the more you tell the story, the more people will listen, the more lives you will touch, the more transformation you will make, the bigger impact, the more visibility and more exposure. And I know it's COVID, and you're thinking, I probably don't have money. You're probably thinking, I don't have time. But those are just excuses that you're making for yourself, because you're afraid of something deeper and you don't know it. So anyways, I'm telling you here, one, a lot of people need permission, right? So Hellenique and I give you permission to be great, to step into your greatness and tap into your inner power, your divine power, and find the magic inside you. What will it take for you to take that next step, to be the author, get on other people's stages, to tell your story? What will it take? So do the work, because in 2021, I think it's going to be magic. And you're not going to find the magic outside of you. You're going to find the magic within yourself. So be amazing. And thank you, Hellenique. And thank you all for being here and listening.
So lovely to hear you giving people a very motivating, encouraging masterclass on how to really get out there, because I think there's so many reasons why we stop ourselves and really don't believe that we have something worth saying. And of course, there is a process to go through, and it's really great, Angelica, that you've groomed that and really done it so many times, so that people also can rely on going through that process with you and coming out the other end with something very valuable to share, because it's not just about writing anything, it's about writing, a lot of very unique and important insights to heal, but also to share with others. So to anybody watching, if you want to know more about the whole inner workings of this offer and how to get connected with Dr. Angelica to work with her, you can definitely sign up on the Calendly. And then also, that she's working in Spanish. So if you have any connection or any interest to work in another language, in Spanish specifically. She has lots of projects running in Spanish as well, and she's very influential in Spain and in South America and in Spanish-speaking communities in the United States. So if we have a chance, I would like to invite you, Dr. Angelica, to just give us your insights here on what you think the biggest lie is that women believe and the truth.
Yeah, I feel that the biggest lie that women tell themselves is, I often find that I'm not good enough, right? Especially if you've gone through some divorce and someone told you that you're not good enough, and then jealousy kicks in because you think the other woman is better than you. I want to tell you that that's a lie, that you're an amazing person and you're loving and you're beautiful. You're beautiful. So you need to believe your truth and not someone else's lie.
Great. And you know, when it comes to people being able to step out and do the kind of work that you've told us all about today, what do you think is the biggest block? Let's say, in your experience working with so many authors, you've published so many online and offline projects, you know, and I know you've worked with large groups of people to do each one of those. Like, for somebody to really jump in and say, I'm in, I'm going for it, I'm going to really put myself into this challenge of letting the world see me, you know, what do you think is the biggest stopping point or the challenge that they have? Do you have?
I think one of the biggest challenges that everyone has, and I mean, I've invested a lot in myself, but even when I do invest, I feel like, right, because you're investing that money for a mentor. And like I said, we all have a blind spot and we can't see it. And I think that the majority of people, the excuse is I don't have money, and it keeps them from hiring a mentor to find those blind spots and find a formula that works. You see, you can get somewhere faster when you find someone that's already gone through the path. And that's exactly why I'm telling people, tell the story, because you've already had the experience, you already went through the path, and you're in a different path, right? So we all need a mentor that would guide us through what they went through, but they've created a formula on how to get there faster. So I think there's money, but you just have to prioritize what is most important for you now and how fast do you want to get somewhere to really make an impact and influence people's lives, you know, and find the way to make it happen for you.
Okay, great. So I think you've all heard now from myself and Dr. Angelica that there's, you know, many things that can come in the way of really getting this done. You know, they always also say that a lot of people who start out wanting to write a book don't end up finished doing that. They don't actually get there. So if you are someone that has that dream, know that you need some support to do it, and you can reach out to someone like Dr. Angelica and go through this process. She's done it many times. And we're so grateful to have you sharing this with us again, Dr. Angelica Benavides. It's lovely to have you here, and all your projects that you mentioned sound very exciting. We'll be advertising them in the group as well. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care and good night.